I wanted to talk about something which is perhaps a bit unusual and not so much like the things I usually talk about, but still, because it's linked to philosophy and literature, I think it goes quite well with the content that I usually do on my channel. So yesterday I was at university and I have one class this semester which is about noir novels and thrillers, and just basically the question of evil in literature, in modern literature. We were discussing just how the 20th century was such an important and decisive moment when it comes to the question of evil and how we analyze it, how we explain it. And it was telling us about the fact that, the more we were sort of going forward in time, the less we could find reasons and explanations to evil. Back then, religion could explain a lot of things. There were also in the 18th and 19th century a lot of, people that sort of thought that civilization was the root of all evils, and that basically human beings were good by nature also, and that society was the one thing that would turn us into bad beings. But seeing how the 20th century went with the two world wars, genocides, dictatorships and stuff, people started to really doubt whether human beings were good or not. And the teacher was just telling us about how basically evil became this very banal thing that you could see everywhere and in everyone. It's the whole Hannah Arendt thing of, the extreme banalization of evil. He was telling us that you would have to be very naive nowadays to just think that humans were good by nature. That being optimistic in our day and age was a very foolish thing. I mean, we didn't have many reasons to be optimistic. I was just feeling so much disagreement with that, without really being able to voice my opinion because I didn't really know why I was disagreeing that much. And I mean, I'm a vegan, I'm a woman, I work with migrants, I volunteer with migrants, I'm very much interested in the Middle East, I'm a pro-Palestinian. So basically, because of my values, I don't see the world in a very positive light. It's becoming this thing where we don't really have any alternatives to that, and we think it's like the way things have always been and the way things are and the way things should be. It's very true that evil and disasters and oppression and inequalities and the violence have become very normal parts of our lives and therefore of our human nature. I couldn't bring myself to agree with the teachers, partly because I've always been somehow an idealist. I've always very much liked Plato, and also growing up and reading more and more, I read Kant and I was like, yeah, maybe, but even Kant isn't very much a pessimistic person. I've never agreed with, philosophers or writers who were like, human beings are selfish and they don't care for others and they have this violence that's ingrained in them. Got me thinking, why is it that I feel so strongly about human beings being good? But once again, it's a very difficult question, what is good and what is evil. Basically, most of the time, that's society that tells us what is good and what is evil. Many people would be like, everything is very subjective, like you don't find any objectivity in that. I've always been someone that thinks that saying everything's subjective is a bit of a counterproductive and too easy argument. I believe that despite cultural differences, cultural norms, historical differences, I think it's pretty fair to say that we can agree on some basis of evil and good. Then again, there's another question: is there really a human nature? Sartre, for example, was one to say that there is nothing such as human nature, and Kant also. So I remember when I learned about that, I was probably in high school. It was a philosophy class. I was like, sure, there's no human nature, but at the same time I was so in tune with Rousseau. I was like, that's a bit contradictory. I guess I will have to get used to the fact that a lot of things I think are contradictory. So I personally do not believe in an absolute human nature. But if I were to believe in a limited or somehow to nuance or to discuss human nature, I don't think human beings are either good or bad. I think human beings are two things. They're free and they're lacking. We are free. You find this idea for the longest time, free will for religious people, especially the Christians. You find this idea in Kant's philosophy as well. For the fact that they're lacking, I personally think human beings are sort of like either weak or lacking. I think we lack things as soon as we come on earth. And you can find this somehow, put in words differently in Freud's work and psychoanalysis. I think human beings are lacking self-esteem and love. Obviously, freedom plus a lack of love can either lead to a search of love, which would be a positive thing, or a search for something to fill in that hole, but taking a wrong path. When you think of human beings being good or being bad, you also have to agree on the fact that there's some sort of morality in that. And where does it come from? Is it something you can find by yourself, or do you need the help of others? And is that something that is gonna curb your instincts, or is it something that's gonna help you flourish and bloom into the person that you're supposed to be? Personally, I think it's very also important to just look at the outcome. If you think, okay, you know what, I think human beings are bad, what? I think it's a very dangerous way to look at things, because you could either be someone that gives up, or you could be someone that thinks, therefore, because human beings are bad and because they can't choose the good and they can't do good, they have to be controlled. I mean, that's pretty obvious how it could be dangerous. But on the other hand, if you think, you know what, I believe that human beings are good, or at least have so much potential to be good. Yes, they can make mistakes, but if you take for starting point this idea that human beings are good, you think they need love and you want to give them love. You trust them. And if you give love to someone, they're going to give love back. And basically seeking love and making love, is just going to attract more love. At the end of the day, I wonder, is it really useful to wonder whether we're good or bad? Because, it would mean that we have to, first of all, agree on what's good and bad, agree on the fact that there's or there isn't a human nature, and then the question of morality, and then so many different questions as well. I think what we should really focus on is the outcome. What do we want? It creates love, it creates possibilities for human beings to improve. Obviously, those are very theoretical and, easy sort of discussions when you're not in a country that's in war and you're not sick and you don't have to fight for your life. But I also think it's important that we have this kind of discussion, because what are you gonna do? Are you just gonna be indifferent to what's happening in the world, thinking human beings are like that? Human beings, rape, murder, kill, do wars, exploit, lie, and that's just the way it's always been, so what's the use? Or are you gonna be like, I believe in the potential of human beings, I believe they can do great things, and I believe this can be corrected, and I want to do something positive. Our day and age, being positive, being an idealist, it's not really well seen. People think you're not connected to the reality, when in fact you're just really hoping for something different. And we should all be hoping for something different, and we all should try to live differently, because the way we've been living, it's not working. I guess I kind of wanted to share that with you, as you have your opinions, guys. That would be really nice to know what you guys think of that. I probably missed a lot of things, a lot of points and authors and thinkers, and perhaps I was a bit not so clear, but it's difficult to talk about those things in English and in a very short video. So thank you for watching this video. I hope this was interesting, and I shall see you later. Bye!